In the middle of the galaxy, far away from Earth, the great Zirin station floated silently above a peaceful blue planet. This space station was a center of trade, diplomacy, and technology. Aliens and humans worked together here, but status, class, and wealth still mattered. One bright morning, a new ship docked at Zirin station. It was smooth, silver, and marked with the Earth Union's gold seal. Inside was a quiet man, Tahir, a young human millionaire who had made his name across many planets. Tahir was not born rich. He grew up in a dusty town on Earth, where water was short and people struggled, but he was clever. By age 20, he had invented a small energy box that could clean air and water in poor villages. Over time, his invention was used across colonies and ships. Money followed him. Power followed too. But no matter how successful he became, he stayed simple in his heart. When Tahir arrived at the Crystal Leaf Hotel on Zirin Station, everyone noticed. The hotel was a luxury place for ambassadors, scientists, and traders. The staff stood straight. Aliens with bright robes bowed. Reporters tried to take photos. But Tahir only gave a small nod and walked quietly, carrying his own small bag. Later that evening, there was a large diplomatic banquet. People from many species were gathered in a tall glass hall. Alien music played softly in the background. The lights were low and elegant. Robotic waiters moved around serving rare food. But there were also human workers from nearby colonies, people who served, cleaned, and worked hard behind the scenes. Tahir stood near a corner, talking to a planetary engineer when he saw her. Young woman with tired eyes, tied-back hair, and a gentle face was carrying a tray. She wore a plain black uniform, but her steps were light, and her hands steady. She didn't look up much, but when she did, her eyes had a quiet strength. Her name tag read, Mina. Tahir watched her for a few moments. She smiled softly at an old alien guest who dropped a spoon. She apologized for things that were not her fault. She listened more than she spoke. He was curious. Later, when she passed near him, he asked politely, "Excuse me, do you know where the garden deck is?" Mina looked up. Her voice was calm and respectful. "Yes, sir." "Go straight." Then left past the silver fountain. "The glass doors will take you there." "Thank you," he said, offering a kind smile. "You've been working long?" "A few years," she replied. "My father used to work in tech labs before he passed. I started here after that." Tahir nodded, not wanting to keep her from work, but something in her voice stayed with him. It was not just sadness. It was focus. Strength. Later, as the banquet ended, Tahir stepped outside to the garden deck she had spoken about. It was quiet there, with plants from different worlds glowing softly under the glass dome. As he stood alone, he heard footsteps. Mena had come to water a rare flower. She paused when she saw him. "I didn't know anyone would be here. You were right. This place is peaceful," he said. "Do you come here often?" "Only to care for the plants. No one notices them, but they help keep the air clean." Tahir smiled. "That's important work." She shrugged. "It's small." "No work that helps others is small." There was silence. Not uncomfortable, just calm. They spoke for a few minutes about Earth, her father's dream to build affordable machines, and her wish to one day finish his work. Tahir listened carefully. He didn't talk about his wealth. He didn't mention his company. He just listened. After she left, he stayed for a long time under the stars. The next morning, gossip began. The assistant manager had seen them talking. A waiter had told someone else. Soon, the story spread. The Earth millionaire is interested in a waitress. Some laughed. Some whispered with fake concern. A rich man like Tahir, how could he even talk to someone like Mina? She was just a hotel worker. She didn't even own proper shoes, someone said. Another joked, maybe he wants to open a restaurant. At a round-table lunch, an alien diplomat leaned toward Tahir and said with a smile, "You Earth people, so emotional." Falling in love with workers now? Tahir didn't smile. "Is kindness a weakness in your world?" he asked gently. The alien coughed and said nothing. Back at the hotel cafe, Mina noticed the looks, the whispers. Even some human staff acted differently. She tried to ignore it. She had no interest in dreams. She had work, bills, plans. But that evening, Tahir visited the cafe. He sat quietly and ordered tea. When Mina came to serve it, he stood up politely and said, "Would you join me for a few minutes, if you're free?" She hesitated. "Sir, I'm not allowed to sit with guests." "I understand," he said, standing up again. "Then perhaps we could talk during your next break?" Mina looked at his face. There was no pride, no games. "Just a man asking to talk. I'll have a break in 20 minutes, she said softly. Tahir nodded. "I'll wait." And so, something small began on that space station. While the world watched his wealth, Tahir had seen something more, a soul unshaken by hardship. And Mina, cautious but curious, began to wonder if some people saw beyond money and status. The stars above Zirin Station continued to shine. But deep below them, in a quiet corner of a vast galaxy, two lives were quietly beginning to change. Zirin Station never slept. Lights moved through every corridor, every docking bay, and every luxury suite. Diplomats, scientists, and traders came and went. But inside the Crystal Leaf Hotel, something different had caught people's attention. Tahir, the famous human millionaire, had returned to the cafe. Again, this time. He waited quietly at a corner table while Mina took her break. He didn't wear anything fancy. Just a simple shirt and dark trousers. Still, everyone knew who he was. His name was connected to big planets, big companies, and even some space governments. But here he was waiting for a poor waitress. When Mina sat down, she looked unsure. Her hands were folded. Her face was calm, but there was hesitation in her eyes. Tahir spoke gently. "Thank you for giving me your time again." "I don't understand why you want to speak with me," she said honestly. "I'm just someone who brings tea." Tahir smiled. "You bring more than that. You speak with kindness. You think before you talk. That's rare in any part of the galaxy." Mina looked at the floor for a moment. "People are staring." "I don't care," he said. "Let them stare." She shook her head. "You should. You're a public figure. This can make people talk." "They already are," he replied, taking a sip of the tea. "But I believe real respect is not about staying silent when the world judges. It's about doing the right thing even when they laugh." The hotel staff, however, did more than laugh. Behind closed doors, the assistant manager, Mr. Rulo, whispered about Mina with other employees. "She's lucky to be noticed, but she better not forget her place," he said. "One mistake, and she's out." Other waiters started treating Mina differently. A few were jealous. Some were scared she'd be favored. A few mocked her openly. "Maybe she'll buy the hotel one day," one said with a smirk. Mina stayed quiet. She didn't argue, but inside she was confused. She hadn't asked for this attention. She hadn't chased Tahir. She didn't even know how to behave around someone so rich and important. 2 days later, Tahir invited Mina to the observation dome, a quiet place on top of the station where stars looked close enough to touch. Mina agreed, only after her shift ended. The dome was silent, with a view of thousands of stars and moving ships. It felt like standing at the edge of the universe. Beautiful. "Isn't it?" Tahir asked. "Yes," Mina whispered. "When I was a child, I used to look at stars through a broken lens my father made. He always said, 'Even the poor have the sky.'" Tahir looked at her with quiet respect. "Your father sounds like a wise man." "He was," Mina replied. "But wisdom doesn't pay bills. He tried to build a water cleaning system for small villages. It worked, but no one funded it. He died before anyone noticed. Tahir listened closely. What happened to his work? I still have his notes, Mina said, surprised anyone was interested. They're old and messy, but I've been trying. To finish his design, I use broken parts from old machines. Just small tests. Tahir's eyes lit up. You're building tech? That's incredible. No, Mina said quickly. It's nothing like your inventions. Just small pieces. I'm not trained like you. He leaned forward. But you're trying. On your own. That's what matters. You have ideas that can help others. That's what science is for. She looked away, embarrassed. People like me don't get to build anything big. Maybe that's why people like me should listen to people like you. Tahir said gently. The next day, the whispers grew louder. Someone had taken a photo of them in the observation dome. It spread across station networks. The headline said, "Millionaire meets with poor waitress under the stars. Earth traditions?" On business channels, commentators joked about it. Some alien voices even called it a strange human ritual of mixing classes. At the trade council meeting, a politician laughed and said, Tahir is doing charity work with his heart now. Not just his wallet. Tahir didn't laugh. Instead, he stood during the meeting and said, if we want peace among species, we must respect every voice, not just the rich ones. Some nodded politely. Others rolled their eyes. Back at the hotel, Mina was called into Mr. Rouleau's office. He closed the door and spoke with a cold voice. You're bringing unwanted attention, Mina. I didn't do anything wrong, she said calmly. You're not wrong, he said sharply. But people are watching. Important guests are uncomfortable. We can't afford rumors. She stood straight. If my work is not good, tell me that. But don't judge me for someone else's actions. Mr. Rouleau narrowed his eyes. Just stay professional. Mina left the office, her heart heavy. Later that evening, Tahir found her near the back corridor. She was sitting alone, staring at a small notebook, her father's designs. He sat beside her and asked, Are you okay? She nodded. They warned me. Tahir was silent for a moment. Then he said, Do you want to stop talking to me? Mina looked at him, then closed the notebook. Do you want to stop talking to me? He smiled. No, she smiled back. Then let them talk. For the first time, Mina felt something inside her change. Not because of Tahir's money or power, but because someone saw her not as a worker, not as a poor girl, but as a mind, a person. And Tahir, for the first time in years, felt seen not as a brand or a business, but as a man who still believed in honest dreams. Outside, Zirin Station continued to spin through the stars. But in one small corner, something brighter than starlight had begun to grow. Not love built on luxury, not pride built on position, but respect, the beginning of something real, something rare. And in the shadows of laughter and whispers, fate had already begun to turn. Days passed slowly on Zirin Station, but for Tahir and Mina, something new had quietly started. Every evening, after her work ended, they would sit near the quiet part of the garden deck, talk about life, stars, science, and forgotten dreams. Not everyone was happy. The whispers had turned into conversations. Important people had started to ask questions. Why was a man like Tahir spending time with a low-class worker? What did he see in her? Some aliens called it a strange Earth custom. Some humans were simply jealous. Still, Tahir didn't care. His name and money gave him protection. But Mina, who had no power, started to feel the pressure. Some staff ignored her now, others were cold. And Mr. Rouleau, the assistant manager, watched her every move. She felt eyes on her back all the time, but she stayed quiet. She stayed strong. Evening, after a long shift, Mina walked to the old equipment room near the basement level of the station. She had found it months ago, dark, dusty, and unused. Inside, she kept her father's notebook, some old machine parts, and her tiny inventions. She had turned this room into her secret lab. That night, as she adjusted a broken energy filter and tested her small water recycling tube, she heard a soft knock. She turned, surprised that it was Tahir. "How did you find me?" she asked. "You said once you work on your father's project with broken parts." "I followed the service corridor map," he replied, smiling. "I didn't know you were this serious." Mina looked down. "It's just an idea, nothing important." Tahir stepped forward, studying the tube and broken circuits. "This is smart. You're building a closed-loop water cleaner. These things are expensive on colony planets." She nodded. "Yes, but I want to build a version that poor people can afford. Something small, something that doesn't need fancy tools." Tahir gently picked up the half-finished coil. "Your design is simple and brilliant." Mina smiled softly. "It was my father's dream. He believed everyone deserved clean water. I'm just trying to finish what he started." Tahir looked around. The old tools, the broken chairs, the quiet air. "This place is more inspiring than any lab I've seen," he said. Mina laughed a little. "It's not much." "It's everything," he replied. The next day, at a public business event, Tahir was invited to speak on stage. There were ambassadors, station officials, and news drones flying above. Tahir stood at the podium. His speech began with a few usual words about trade and progress. But then, he changed the topic. He spoke about hidden talent. "Sometimes, the brightest minds don't wear suits or sit in meetings," he said. "Sometimes they serve tea or work in shadows. But their ideas can change the world." Some people clapped. Others looked confused. One alien official leaned toward another and whispered, "He's talking about her again." After the event, Counselor Breen, a tall insectoid diplomat, approached Tahir. "You speak with feeling," Breen said slowly. "But your actions are not usual," Tahir answered calmly. "Maybe it's time for usual to change." Breen clicked his mandibles. Thoughtfully, "Your friendship with a hotel worker is ... noticed. I know. And some fear it weakens your position," Tahir smiled. "Then they don't understand strength." Later that night, Mina received a message. It was from Station Engineering Registry. Her old request to test her father's design had been rejected again, just like the last 3 times. She sighed. Her heart was heavy, but not surprised. Tahir saw the message on her datapad. "You applied to register your project?" he asked. "I tried," she replied. "But without official training, they won't let me." Tahir looked thoughtful. "What if I help, not with money? Just support, feedback, maybe a small lab?" Mina quickly shook her head. "No, if I take your help, people will say I used you. They already laugh. I don't want pity or favors. I want this to be mine." Tahir nodded slowly. "I understand. But if you ever change your mind, I'll be here." A few days later, new rumors began to spread that someone had leaked a fake report. It claimed that Mina was stealing secret design files from Tahir's company. The report said she was a spy, using her relationship to copy data and sell it to other planets. The hotel staff panicked. Security was called. Mina was questioned. She denied everything. But the station police took her in for further investigation. Tahir rushed to the station control office. "This is a lie," he said firmly. The officer replied, "We're only following orders, sir. If she's innocent, we'll find out." Tahir contacted his team on Earth. "Find who created this report. Trace the data, now." In the holding room, Mina sat alone. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She sat with her back straight and her eyes calm. She had done nothing wrong, but still, she was treated like a criminal. Her hard work, her dreams all questioned by a single lie. Meanwhile, a young assistant from Tahir's Earth office, Rafi, sent him an urgent message. "Sir, the false report came from the ship of Ambassador Voran from the Golorus Council. Tahir narrowed his eyes. Varan had laughed at him weeks ago, mocking his friendship with Mina. He had political reasons to destroy Tahir's image. If people believed Mina was a spy, it would shame Tahir and prove humans were too emotional. To lead in space diplomacy. Tahir didn't waste time. He called in his legal team and gathered the digital proof from Varan's ship logs. The timestamps, the copied file trail, it was clear. He would not stay silent. That night, the stars above Zirin Station shined as usual. But in the corridors below, a quiet battle of truth and lies had begun. Mina, sitting behind cold glass, had no idea someone was fighting for her. And Tahir, calm but burning inside, had made a decision. He would not let the world destroy someone. Good, not because of status, not because of class. Because humanity was more than pride. It was justice. And no amount of laughter could hide the truth for long. The silence inside the station holding room was heavy. Mina sat alone behind a clear wall, her hands resting on her knees, her eyes looking forward, but her thoughts were far away. She had not stolen anything. She had not touched any secret. Files, all she had done was talk, listen, share, dream. But now, because of lies, people looked at her like she was dangerous. Across the station, news had already begun to spread. Hotel worker accused of spying on Earth millionaire, Tahir's. Judgment questioned. Did emotions cloud his mind? Some laughed, some were silent. Some believed the worst. At that same moment, Tahir stood in a private meeting room inside the station council hall. He had proof. On the screen beside him were digital logs showing the movement of false files, created to look like they had been stolen from his company. But the data didn't match any of Mina's devices. It had been sent from Ambassador Varan's ship, disguised as a security report. A young legal officer spoke softly. "These are real logs, sir. They show fake activity generated using internal scripts. Mina's name was added manually." Tahir nodded. His jaw was tight, but his voice was calm. "Can this be shown to the council?" The officer nodded. "Yes. It's strong enough to clear her name." That evening, a special hearing was held in the central dome of Zirin Station. It was rare for something like this to happen over one hotel worker, but Tahir had demanded it. And when Tahir spoke, even the council listened. The room was full. Reporters, diplomats, traders. Everyone wanted to see what the Earth millionaire would say. The rumor was he was defending a poor woman over an ambassador. Some found it funny. Others found it foolish. But Tahir didn't care. He stepped onto the platform and said simply, "I am here to protect truth." Behind him, a large screen lit up, showing files, logs, and hidden data. He explained everything. "This report," he said, "was made to look like Mina stole data from my company. But here," he pointed, "we can see the file was created 2 days before she ever entered the system." He clicked again. "This code," he continued, "was generated by a known Golurus tool used only by their diplomatic ships." Echoed in the room. "And the access path?" Tahir added, "It leads straight to Ambassador Varan's private server." The room went silent. Ambassador Varan stood up, his voice sharp. "These are false accusations." But the council leader raised a hand. "Silence, Varan. The evidence speaks." Another diplomat whispered to his assistant, "If this is true, Varan's career is finished." 30 minutes later, the council gave its decision. The file was fake. Mina was innocent. Varan was expelled from Zirin Station for misuse of diplomatic tools and attempted character harm. Tahir rushed to the holding room where Mina still waited. Quietly, when she saw him, she stood up, unsure what had happened. "You're free," Tahir said gently. "Everything is over." Her eyes widened. "You proved it?" He nodded. "I told you. I believe in you." For the first time, Mina's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of relief. Someone had stood by her. Not because of duty, not because of power, but because he believed in her truth. That night, back at the hotel cafe, some workers lowered their eyes when Mina passed. A few even looked guilty. She didn't say anything. She just walked to her small locker, took a deep breath, and began preparing for work again. Tahir arrived quietly and sat in his usual spot. "You're working?" he asked. She smiled. "Why not? I still need to eat. Life doesn't stop." He looked at her with deep respect. "You're stronger than most people I know." She sat down across from him. For the first time, there were no barriers, no fear. Just two people equal in dignity. A week later, something unexpected happened. The Earth Union Research Department sent a message to Mina. They had seen the council hearing. They had also reviewed her old water cleaning design requests. And this time they were interested. The message read, "Your idea shows promise. We invite you to submit a full prototype. A grant may be offered." Mina stared at the message for a long time. Her hands trembled. "I don't believe it," she whispered. "They noticed me," Tahir smiled. "They didn't just notice. They finally opened their eyes." But Mina didn't celebrate with parties or big speeches. Instead, she returned to the old equipment room, cleaned the space, and began working. Harder than ever. She didn't want fame. She wanted her father's dream to become real. Tahir offered to give her a new lab with better tools. She politely refused. "I want to build the first model myself," she said, "with these hands, in my own way." Tahir respected her more than ever. He understood now. Mina was not someone who needed saving. She was someone who would rise on her own if only the world stopped pushing her down. Soon, the whispers around the station changed. People now said, "She's the one who beat the ambassador." Some said, "She's the girl building clean water tech with scrap parts." Others simply said, "She's not ordinary." Tahir and Mina didn't speak much about what had happened. They didn't have to. They just met every evening, under the stars or in her small workshop. Talking, smiling, working. And slowly, trust turned into friendship. Friendship turned into respect. And respect turned into something deeper. Not fast, not forced. Just natural, like stars moving in the sky. Far above them, Zirin Station continued its daily spin. Ships came and went. News moved quickly. Stories changed, but one truth remained clear. You can't hide the light of a true soul forever. And sometimes, even the most powerful people must learn that kindness, truth, and love are stronger than money and fear. The wind inside Zirin Station's air tunnels was soft and silent, but Mina's heart was not. After weeks of struggle, lies, and questions, the truth had finally come out. She had been cleared. The world now knew she was innocent, but something still felt heavy inside her, even though her name was clean. The memory of being treated like a criminal still sat quietly in her chest. She had spent her life working hard, staying honest, and helping others, yet it had taken only one lie to shake everything. Still, she didn't stop. She refused to slow down. Each night, after finishing her shift at the Crystal Leaf Hotel, she returned to her small workshop in the old equipment room. Her father's notes, saved on worn paper and scratched screens, guided her hands. She was building again, this time, not just for her dream, but for all the people who still lived in dusty towns and dry colonies, just like the one she had come from. Tahir too had changed. He still attended meetings, still answered calls from Earth, and still made decisions for his company. But his heart was somewhere else now, inside that old equipment room, beside a woman who reminded him of who he used to be before the money, before the power. He visited Mina's workshop often, not as a helper, not as a boss, but as a friend who truly believed in her. One evening, as she adjusted a circuit in her water cleaning device, he watched her in silence. Wires were scattered. Tools were old. But her fingers moved with purpose. "You know," he said, "I could bring 10 engineers here, And still none of them would understand this machine like you do. Mina smiled. It's because I don't just see wires and energy. I see my father's hope. She handed him a small tool. Here, hold this while I connect the filter. Tahir took it carefully. He wasn't used to fixing things with his hands anymore. Years of business had made him distant from tools and screws. But with Mina, he was learning again slowly, quietly. Meanwhile, the story of Ambassador Varan's betrayal continued to spread across the galaxy. His removal from Zirin Station was a strong message to all. Truth matters. No one is above justice. Tahir, now praised by some and questioned by others, didn't care about the attention. He had only one focus now: helping Mina succeed, without changing who she was. But not everyone supported him. A few powerful leaders believed Tahir had made a mistake by protecting a simple worker. Some claimed his emotions were clouding his decisions. Others feared Mina's invention would disrupt water-selling industries on dry planets. Behind locked doors, private messages were exchanged. Some companies had already begun building rival tech. If Mina's design worked and was cheap, it would take away their profits. That made her a problem, and when something becomes a problem in the galaxy, people start to watch closely. Back at her workshop, Mina made a breakthrough: the water cleaning tube now worked on a full closed loop. A single glass of dirty water went in clean, drinkable water came out the other side. No large energy cell needed, no rare parts. Just clever design and recycled power. She jumped up with excitement. It works. Tahir, who had just entered, grinned. Show me. She did. He watched as the dirty water turned clean in seconds. No noise, no extra heat. He nodded slowly. This can change everything. Mina sat down, her voice calm now. But I don't want to sell it for profit. I want it open source. I want people to build it themselves. Tahir was quiet. He respected her decision, but he also knew what it meant. Are you ready for what comes next? He asked. If you share this, some people will be angry. The companies that sell water filters won't be happy. I know, she said. But my father's dream wasn't to make money. It was to make life easier. He smiled. Then let's make sure the world hears it. Together, they prepared the design files, step-by-step guides, and testing videos. Mina recorded a short message too. My name is Mina. I am not a scientist or a rich person. I'm just someone who wanted to finish what my father started. This water system is free. It belongs to everyone. Use it. Build it. Share it. Tahir uploaded the files to open public networks, Earth forums, colony systems, and even alien platforms. In hours, messages came pouring in. Thank you. We've tested it in our desert camp. It works. We use this in our farm base. Clean water in 3 days. I showed this to my school. Now we're building 10 more. The invention had gone viral, not because of marketing, but because of need. But not all the messages were kind. Some came with warnings. Stop this now. You're hurting legal water providers. This tech is illegal on some planets. Remove it or face action. Mina, you don't know who you're challenging. Tahir read the messages quietly. They're scared. Mina didn't flinch. Let them be. I didn't build this for them. That night, as Mina looked out at the stars from the garden deck, Tahir stood beside her. Do you ever wonder how far this will go? He asked. I don't need to know, she said softly. If it helps even one child drink clean water, that's enough. He looked at her face, calm, steady, glowing. In the soft blue lights, you're not just strong, Mina, he said. You're the kind of human people should learn from. She looked up at him. And you're not just rich, Tahir. You listened when no one else did. A long silence passed between them, peaceful, warm. In that moment, under the stars and far from the noise of politics, they stood side by side, not as millionaire and waitress. Not as man and woman from different worlds, but as two souls joined by a common dream. Deep inside Zirin Station, in a hidden control room, a shadowy figure watched Mina's video again. She's causing too much change, the figure whispered. Message was typed and sent. Begin the next phase. Silence the girl before the entire galaxy listens. Life on Zirin Station moved faster than ever. Ships came and went. People talked. Messages flew across systems. And at the center of it all was Mina, the girl who built a water cleaning machine in a forgotten workshop using broken tools. And her father's dream, her open-source design, was now being used on colonies, farms and stations where clean water was once a luxury. She had become a symbol of hope, honesty, and human strength. But with her rise, trouble was not far behind. Behind the smiling messages and public praise, there were powerful people watching with cold eyes. Some of them ran companies that sold water systems at high prices. Others had contracts with planet governments to control water supply. To them, Mina was not a hero. She was a threat. In a tall glass office on Terra Lux, a private planet owned by elite investors, a meeting was held in secret. She's causing losses, said one voice. Her designs are free. That means no profit for us, said another. A tall man in a dark suit leaned forward. We've tried to warn her. She didn't stop. So what now? Simple, the man said. We don't destroy the machine. We destroy her reputation. Back on Zirin Station, Mina and Tahir were working on the second version of her filter. This model was smaller, faster, and easier to build. She sat on the floor with her sleeves rolled up, connecting wires with calm focus. Tahir brought her a drink and smiled. You've been working for 6 hours straight, he said. I want this ready before the colony ship leaves tomorrow, she replied. I know, he said. But even machines need rest. She looked up at him and smiled. I'm not a machine. No, he said softly. You're better than one. The next morning, trouble arrived. A message from Zirin Station's tech board appeared on Mina's screen. You are under review for unsafe engineering practices. Please report to Hall C-17 at once. Her hands froze. I read the message beside her. This is nonsense. Mina stood up slowly. Let's see what they want. At Hall C-17, 3 officials waited. One was from the tech board, one from station law, and one from the health department. They didn't smile. We received reports, said the tech officer, that your device is causing contamination in certain places. Mina's eyes widened. That's not possible. I tested every part. The health officer added, on Colony 87, 5 people became ill after using your system. Tahir stepped forward. Was it confirmed that her filter caused this? No, the officer replied, but there are questions. Mina took a deep breath. Let me examine the unit they used. It's already been removed, the board member said quickly. For now, your open source files are being suspended. All further tests must stop. She stepped back, shocked. You're banning it? It's for public safety, the man said. Tahir's voice became firm. Or is it for private business? The room went quiet. We don't take orders from corporations, one officer said, but even he didn't sound confident. Mina clenched her hands. I've helped hundreds of people. And now, without any proof, you want to stop me? I'm sorry, the health officer said, softer now. This decision came from above station level. Tahir's eyes narrowed. He understood. Someone powerful, someone far from Zirin was pulling strings. That night, Mina sat in her workshop. The screens were off. Her tools were untouched. She looked down at her father's old notebook and whispered, I thought I was close, Baba. I thought I finally made you proud. Tahir entered quietly, carrying a small data drive. What's that? She asked. A recording, he said, from Colony 87's network. I asked Rafi to look deeper. He plugged it in. On the screen, a message appeared. Water filters distributed to Colony 87 last week were altered before delivery. Filter number 24 shows signs of tampering. They looked at each other. Someone changed your design before it reached them, Tahir said. On purpose. Mina's eyes lit up. To make people sick. So they could blame me. Tahir nodded. And I know who arranged it. Early the next morning, they stood before the Zirin Station Council. Tahir spoke clearly. We found proof that Mina's device was tampered with after she sent the design. It was done through a shipping company owned by Salaristek, a known supplier of high-cost water systems. Mina added, they used a broken version of my filter to make people sick so they could ban my work. The council reviewed the files. After a long silence, the head counselor stood. We believe you. Cheers broke out in the room. Workers, engineers, students, and even a few officials clapped. The counselor continued, we will not stop Mina's work. Instead, we will support it. Starting today, the Zirin Engineering Guild will offer you a research grant. Mina stood still, shocked. You've done something rare, the counselor said. You gave hope without asking for anything. That deserves honor. Tahir looked at her with pride. Her hands shook slightly. Thank you, but I only ask one thing. What is it? The counselor asked. Let me build the next version my way, without gold labs or rich tools. Let the world see that simple people can still build great things. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with loud applause. Later that night, Mina and Tahir sat under the stars once again. The world is listening now, Tahir said. She looked up. They're not listening to me because I'm special. They're listening because they're tired of waiting for help. He nodded. And you gave them something real. She turned to him. So did you. You stood beside me when it was dangerous. Tahir looked into her eyes. Because I believe in you. I always have. Their hands touched. No more doubt. No more fear. Two lives that had started in different worlds were now walking the same path. Together. Far across the galaxy. News spread fast. Mina's water filter approved. Free technology saving lives across colonies. From Waitress to innovator, humanity's new star. Millionaire and engineer team up for planet-wide water project. The galaxy watched closely. What started as a small invention by a girl named Mina had now become a movement. Her free water cleaning device had reached poor farms, dusty mining towns, deep space colonies, and even old planets where no clean water flowed for decades. Her name was whispered in markets, printed in newspapers, and searched across the networks. But Mina didn't care about fame. She cared about results. And her next mission was bigger than anyone expected. One evening, she stood on the wide metal balcony of Zirin Station, looking at the stars. Her dark hair flowed in the soft breeze of the oxygen fans. Behind her, engineers worked in the lab. She helped build a place where young minds could create without fear. Tahir walked up beside her. He had just returned from a planet called Nura 5, where her device saved thousands after a drought. They're building schools there now, he said with a smile. And they want to name one after you. Mina shook her head, smiling softly. They should name it after the first girl who drinks clean water. That's who matters. He looked at her with admiration. You've changed lives, Mina. She turned to him. Not alone. You believed in me when no one else did. Even when I was just a waitress with big dreams. Tahir replied quietly, you were never just a waitress. Soon after, a message arrived from the United Planet Assembly, the biggest council in the human colonies. You are invited to the Central Assembly Dome on Terra Prime. The President wishes to meet you. Tahir read the message aloud. Mina was silent. He asked, are you ready for this? She looked away, thinking, I never wanted this kind of attention. I only wanted to help. But now, he said, you can help even more. She nodded. Then let's go. The journey to Terra Prime took 2 days by light cruiser. Mina wore simple clothes, The same ones she used in her workshop. No gold, no shine. She refused. All makeup or fancy-style advisors sent by the media. When they landed, a large crowd waited outside the assembly dome. People clapped and waved as she stepped out of the shuttle. Children held signs, "Thank you, Mina." Clean water equals hope. A waitress changed the galaxy. The guards led her through the grand halls of the dome. Marble floors, floating lights, tall pillars from ancient Earth design. It felt unreal. Inside the chamber, world leaders from over 50 colonies sat in rows. The president of the assembly, a calm older woman named Mari, stood to greet her. "Mina," she said kindly, "you've done something our governments failed to do in years. You brought clean water to people who were forgotten." Mina looked down. "I only built what my father once dreamed of. He never got the chance to finish it." President Mari touched her shoulder. "Today we finish it together." The crowd stood and clapped again. After the ceremony, in a private room, Mina and Tahir sat with the president and her advisors. They showed her a map of the outer colonies' places, where clean water still hadn't reached. "We want to launch the Blue Star Project," Mari explained. "With your technology, your methods. Not for money, but for the future." Mina smiled. "Then we must train local people to build and fix it. No more waiting for rich companies to come and help." Tahir added, "We'll build centers where young engineers, especially from poor backgrounds, can learn freely." The president nodded. "You will lead this mission. Both of you." Months passed. From one star system to another, Mina and Tahir traveled. They taught. They built. They listened. No one cared anymore that she used to serve tea in a roadside cafe. What mattered was that she gave people something no one else offered, dignity. She taught mothers how to fix broken filters. She showed children how clean water could power machines and grow crops. She sat with village elders and told them, "This is your invention now. Take care of it." And everywhere she went, Tahir was there quietly managing resources, defending her choices, and standing beside her like a shield of calm strength. On the 1-year anniversary of the first filter, a huge event was held on Ziran Station. A statue was unveiled, not of Mina, but of a child holding a cup of clean water. Below it were the words, "Hope is not built in silence. Hope is shared, piece by piece." Thousands attended. Her old cafe co-workers came. Engineers, students, even a few who once mocked her. They all came. Tahir walked her up the stage. She looked at the crowd, took a deep breath and said, "I was told I couldn't build, that I didn't belong, that I had no voice. But I didn't listen." She looked at the statue. "I believed in my father's dream. I believed in people. And that was enough." The crowd cheered. Later that night, under a sky filled with stars, Tahir and Mina sat quietly by the balcony. He held something small in his hand, a silver ring, shaped like a drop of water. He handed it to her. She looked at it in surprise. "What's this?" "A promise," he said. "Not for gold or power, but for a future we build together." Tears filled her eyes, not of sadness but of deep peace. She smiled and held his hand. "I say yes." Far away, the galaxy kept spinning, but something had changed. A girl from nowhere had proven that wealth doesn't measure worth, and kindness could be stronger than power. She didn't rule planets. She didn't own stars, but she gave the galaxy what no one else had, a reason to believe in humanity again.